He blew up an entire government building and then shot 77 students because he was unhappy with the government. But when he faced the law, the man didn't give a damn about it and even said that killing 77 students wasn't enough for him and that he'd kill again if he had the chance. In the face of the man's crazy actions, the feeling was even more frightening to everyone present. But such a murderer was only sentenced to 21 years in prison. In the end, all the victims' families were very unhappy with the result, but they had no choice but to realize that this was the worst sentence in Norway. Apparently the man knew about the loophole in the law and smiled when he realized that he would be acquitted in 21 years. This is the movie based on the true events of the Norwegian 722 bombing and shooting. The man's name is Anders Breivik. July 22, 2011 day. Anders made 500 kilograms of high explosives in his home, sealed with tape. He loaded all the explosives on the car. He put on a fake police uniform and drove the car full of explosives to the government building. In order not to be caught on camera, he put on a helmet and lit the fuse, making sure that it wouldn't go out. Anders calmly left the van and got into a car that had been prepared in advance. The old man in the surveillance room was so puzzled by this strange behavior that he had to call his colleagues to come and check it out. After a while, a colleague received a call to come out and check, not realizing that his life would soon be over. After the explosion, all the glass was completely shattered, and even the neighboring buildings. Even the pedestrians were injured to varying degrees. But this was only part of the beginning of the 722 incident. Meanwhile, the crazed Anders was on his way to the next attack point. Unlike the bombing of the government building, his next target was a group of students vacationing on an island. Soon Anders arrived at the pier, and in order to get to the island, he posed as a police officer and lied to the two teachers, saying that because of the explosion at the government building, he had been assigned to protect all the students on the island. The two teachers didn't have any doubt that Anders was wearing a police uniform, and soon he was on a boat that brought him to the island. But the other teachers still felt that Anders' identity was abominable, but he realized too late that Anders had already pulled out a pistol. Every time he kills, the man deliberately fixes his clothes. Then he pulls out his pistol and kills two people without hesitation. The man then quickly took out his sniper rifle and loaded the bullets. Then he headed for the next attack point because there were hundreds of students waiting for him. And so began an inhuman massacre. Faced with such an unprovoked attack, all the camping students fled frantically. But some of them were too scared to go out of their classrooms, no matter what was happening outside. The man, who had just witnessed this scene, began to calm them down by wearing a fake police uniform in order to kill the students inside and told them to stay inside and not to go out. Unbeknownst to him, all of this was a lie. He broke into the classroom with a gun, and finally put down the words, "Listen to me. None of you will escape, and all of you will die." And so the man killed all the students in the classroom with no effort at all. After that, Anders began to look for the other students. As he pressed on, more and more students fell to his guns. Those who had no place to hide attached themselves to the cliff and tried to use it to block their view. But what the students didn't expect was that Anders would come around to the side and find them. Seeing that their position had been exposed, the terrified students immediately jumped off the cliff. It wasn't a very high jump, but they didn't escape Anders' gunfire, and every one of them was left for dead. Anders was not relieved until all the students had been killed. At the same time, the police came to the island and found Anders in the forest by following the students' escape route. When he saw the police, he immediately put down his gun and lay down on the ground, waiting for the police to arrest him. He was about to face justice for 77 innocent lives.